In March of 2021, the city of Evanston, Illinois approved a plan to make reparations available to eligible black residents for what it described as harm caused by discriminatory housing policies and practices and inaction on the part of the city. Supporters applauded the efforts as a good first step, while critics say the program doesn't go nearly far enough. And Taifa is the founder and CEO of the Taifa Group, and she is an expert on all things reparations. She joins us now from Washington. So, Nkechi, what is it? Is it a good first step or not enough?
It's absolutely a first step, but we have to realize it is just a first step. It is not the end all. It allocates the first $10 million over a 10-year period of time to fund reparatory justice initiatives in that jurisdiction. It starts with just one area dealing with housing discrimination. It is earmarked 4%, which is only 400,000 of that 10 million for that first step dealing with housing discrimination as a result of redlining throughout the history of that particular jurisdiction. So yes, it is a good thing. It is a great first step, and it is a signal to the rest of the country that this can be done. We don't have to wait for the federal government to pass HR 40, which has been languishing for over 30 years. We can start right here, right now, local, and set the standard and provide a blueprint for the rest of the country.
You know, what was fascinating to me about this was two things. One is that they're going to use funds from cannabis sales, from pot that is sold, which sounds good on paper. But the other thing is that they are recognizing that the ravages of slavery weren't just the chains and the whips. They were the systemic problems that Black America continues to face, including housing discrimination. The fact that they're acknowledging that in itself is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, in fact, that's a very critical point that you raise, because reparations is not just for the enslavement era, but for the living legacies of the enslavement era that still manifest today. Housing being one of those, the black-white wealth gap, another, health and wellness issues, education issues, the criminal punishment system, and even the fact that they use tax revenue from the city's legal cannabis industry to fund this initiative is significant in and of itself. It's kind of like what I call poetic justice, particularly when you know and hear about the disproportionate numbers of Black people that have been impacted by drug laws in this country. So again, it's ironic, it's poetic justice, but it is a step in the right direction.
Now let me ask the question from the other side. Is it fair? And there's the Mitch McConnell argument. No one I know owned slaves or was a slave owner. That happened in the past and needs to belong in this country's past. Why doesn't that argument hold water?
Well, just as just a bit of accurate information, Mitch McConnell's self, his own grandparents on both sides were slave owners. And so that history needs to be brought right back to him. But be it as it might, we all stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. Although the present generation of whites may be innocent of what their forefathers and their foremothers did, as a race, they stand in a privileged position as a result of the actions of their predecessors. Each entity's assets as well as its liabilities are passed on from one generation to the next. And although there are whites who might be innocent of what might have happened in the past, they reside in a state, in a social structure which has been governed by white supremacy. And until we really get at the root of this and start making amends, we will forever have issues that that are continuing today, these living legacies from that era, the era of enslavement, the era of Jim Crow apartheid, you know, the era that we're still going on today, where we're still fighting for voting rights and still fighting for truthful textbooks and still fighting just to be treated and looked at as human beings.
Interesting now that this is a first step. The question then becomes what happens if there is not a second and third step. Nkechi Taifa is the founder and CEO of the Taifa Group. Nkechi, as always, thanks for being with us and Happy New Year.